Thank you. Welcome to our annual Women's Service, which Jen McLean and I have been coordinating since 2017. This service has started about a service about women and body image. Women's bodies are not just men's bodies with ovaries and breasts. We go through distinct changes throughout our lives. Those who give birth are using their bodies to grow actual human beings, and yet we're expected to look the same afterwards. We're expected to bounce back. In discussing with our friends and family, we learned so much about how younger generations' perspectives on women's bodies has changed. And we reminisced about how much we want our teenage bodies back, and not just our waistlines, but our bodies before migraines, before our thyroids betrayed us, before our autoimmune diseases sent us to endless medical providers who could not identify what was wrong with us and could not help us. In this reflection, we realized how messed up medical knowledge is about women. And the service became something so much more than just about how women view themselves. In fact, during our planning meeting with Reverend Jamie and Jen and I remember telling them that I was taking my mother to the emergency department that afternoon because she had some stubborn nausea that had made her dehydrated and exhausted. It even made her a little mentally off her game, let's say. She told me she wasn't in any rush to get to the emergency department, and I should finish my meetings that day before I brought her in. And at the ER that evening, actually at about 2 a.m. the next day, after several hours in the waiting room, we learned she had a heart attack. So ask yourself, what do you think of when you picture somebody having a heart attack? You picture a man clutching his chest, complaining of left arm pain, maybe keeling over and becoming unconscious? Well, the truth is, women are less likely to exhibit this stereotypical model of a heart attack, but women are 3 times more likely to die after a serious heart attack than men. Today's opening words are excerpts from Dr. Allison McGregor, an emergency room physician, an associate professor of emergency medicine at Brown University. In her book, Matters: How Male-Centric Medicine Endangers Women's Health and What We Can Do About It, she explains how women's bodies behave differently from men's and how that can lead to dangerous outcomes so that women can advocate for the medical care that they deserve. She said that when women have heart attacks, they are more likely than men to present with a cluster of symptoms: shortness of breath, unusual fatigue, nausea, digestive issues, or even brain fog. Alone or in combination, none of these things scream heart attack to women because they too are expecting themselves to exhibit the standard male patterns of heart disease. And these less dramatic symptoms often lead to delayed medical treatment, whether it's because the patient downplays what's happening or emergency responders don't recognize women's specific symptoms. And the longer the delay in treating a heart attack, the worse the outcomes are. And the outcome is pretty bad. Heart disease is the #1 killer of women. Yet, women represent just 30% of study participants in cardiac studies. Dr. McGregor also takes care to mention that the #3 killer of women, stroke, also presents differently in women. And this leads to delayed use of the most effective stroke treatments. So I would be wasting my time here if I didn't list some of those symptoms so that everybody knew how to identify them. She states that any or all of the following symptoms could indicate stroke: loss of consciousness or fainting, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, nausea or vomiting, hiccups, headache, pain, including neck pain or pain in the extremities, seizures, confusion, disorientation, or unresponsiveness, sudden behavioral changes or changes in mental status, or agitation. Can you picture how this plays out? A woman comes in confused or irritable. Medicine used to call this hysterical. Now they're more likely to call it anxiety. Women have to be their strongest advocates when they're at their very most vulnerable. Dr. McGregor doesn't put all of the responsibility for better care on women, but she does want them to advocate for themselves. In addition to pushing for including more women in studies and updating clinical guidelines to be sex-specific, Dr. McGregor tells readers, women say I'm sorry for everything, even when they have nothing to be sorry for. She says, stop apologizing for your symptoms and seek the care you need. Use your intuition, your powers of deduction, and your common sense. And now we're going to go into our opening hymn, number 1053, in your teal hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit.
Welcome to First Parish in Bedford, a Unitarian Universalist congregation where we come together every week as people with diverse beliefs and a shared commitment to bringing more peace, love, and justice into this world. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whether you worship one God, many gods, or no God, you are welcome here. Congratulations to all of you daylight savings time people. You made it to church on time. It's easy to forget it even happened with our phones all adjusting automatically. I also want to wish a Ramadan Mubarak this coming week to any who honor this part of the Muslim faith. I want to say a special welcome to those who are on Zoom this morning and to our visitors who are here in person or on Zoom. We are very glad that you are with us. Here in the sanctuary, if you are visiting, you are welcome to fill out a blue connection card so that we can be in touch, and you'll find those in the ends of the pews, and you can give them to the usher during the collection. And in Zoom, there's a link in the chat that you can fill out a virtual connection card. To let you know, for those who are caring for little ones, there is a nursery downstairs available to you, and you can also always have little ones in the service. We welcome that as well. And everyone is invited to fellowship in the common room, which is back there, for coffee and snacks. And if you're feeling adventurous, we encourage you to use the special Make a New Friend table to talk to someone new today. There also are potatoes today, which I'll get to. If you are feeling quiet after service, there's a quiet space in room 201 upstairs where you can have calmer connection and also some hot beverages. So, as always, there's a lot going on here. There are some really fun things happening today after service. Well, it depends on your definition of fun. One that is definitely fun is karaoke. That's fun. Nobody can deny it. In here, During community hour rather, as an option, there will be all ages karaoke. Kids, adults, anybody want to sing, come sing. Meanwhile, the potatoes I mentioned, those are being sold to benefit scholarships for folks in Abishvalva, Transylvania, in our partner church community that we've been connected to for many years. You know you love those baked potatoes. Feast, feast. So come and buy a potato, and then stick around for this. But this is the part where it's fun, depending on your definition of fun, because our treasurer, Vicky Ga, who is incredible, will be giving a presentation about First Parish finances. So, there's a lot you can do, and I hope you do it all this afternoon. Also, this coming Friday, sort of relevant to International Women's Day, there will be a play shown in the Bacon Room at 7 p.m. And if you want to come early and bring dinner, you can join folks in the Common Room at 6. The play is John Proctor is the Villain, and it covers a rural high school class that is reading The Crucible with the lens of the Me Too era. So it explores power and gender. There'll be discussion afterwards, and come check that out. And then lastly, the Irish celebration is coming up next Saturday at 5 p.m. There's going to be music, dancing, food, singing. You want to be part of it, so that's for all ages as well. Come check it out. And those are our announcements. So I invite you to rise in body or in spirit, and we will say our unison affirmation together. It's printed in your order of worship. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ley. Este es nuestro gran pacto, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en espíritu de amor, y ayudarnos los unos a los otros. We're going to sing our children's song, and we're going to go to the rest of our programming. The 6th and 7th graders can head up to 204, and they'll be doing Hinduism and crossing paths, and the pre-K through 5th graders can come with me. We're going upstairs to 202, and we'll be talking more about generosity.
Hello, I'm Lisa Toling, and this is the time in our service when you may share a joy or a concern and light a candle. We ask that you state your name and keep it brief if possible. We'll check with people here first and then on Zoom. And after the service, I will stay by the candle stand. I will light this last candle for those joys and cares we hold deep in our hearts in silence.
Now is the time in our service where we recognize the gifts we've been given from this community and we give back. Freely we have received, and freely we encourage you to give.
This is a monologue from the Barbie movie. It is literally impossible to be a woman. You are so beautiful and so smart, and it kills me that you don't think you're good enough. Like, we have to always be extraordinary, but somehow we're always doing it wrong.
You have to be thin, but not too thin. You can never say you want to be thin. You have to say you want to be healthy, but you also have to be thin. You have to have money, but you can't ask for money because that's crass. You have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas.
You're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your children all the damn time. You have to be a career woman, but also always looking out for everybody else. You have to answer for men's bad behavior, and that is insane. But if you point that out, you're accused of complaining.
You're supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much, or that you threaten other women because you're supposed to be a part of the sisterhood. But always stand out and always be grateful. But never forget that the system is rigged, so find a way to acknowledge that, but also always be grateful.
You have to never get old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, never fall down, never fail, never show fear, and never get out of line. It's too hard. It's too contradictory, and nobody gives you a medal or says thank you. And it turns out that, in fact, not only are you doing everything wrong, but it is also your fault.
I am just so tired of watching myself and every single other woman tie herself into knots so that we are liked. And if all of that is also true for a doll just representing women, then I don't even know.
Thank you to our very own little, our perfectly sized pink ladies. And just to follow up, if you read the Washington Post, there's a version there of the same monologue for the women of the real world. So, living in the body of a woman, part 1, body image. Most of my life, I have felt like my body was not okay. I weighed too much, or my hair was too limp. Memories of middle school and high school include some positive experiences, but also this sense of not quite knowing how to fit in. Like many other girls my age, I read 17 magazine back when we read real magazines. Looking for a manual of how to wear makeup and how to dress. As with many magazines targeting women and girls, they were happy to share ways I could improve myself, look better, be thinner, battle acne. Not surprisingly, they suggested things to buy in this quest. Later, I subscribed to Shape magazine. Less articles on prom dresses, more articles on exercise and diet regimes, but many of the same overarching goals. We know objectively that this is a manipulative marketing message, but it doesn't mean we are immune to it. Advertising works. I mean, I still think Snickers satisfies you. The monologue just shared by Heather, Isabel, Stacy, and Dawn resonated with so many women because of this experience of not being enough as we are and having to pretend that we are not trying to conform to unreasonable expectations, and it's all okay. If we can actually meet them, it should seem effortless. Like many women, I talk about losing weight to improve my health, lower my cholesterol, but really, I want to be thinner. I don't like how I look. Sure, there are more diverse body types in marketing now, but I still judge the heavier ones. I still buy into this idea that the thinner models are more attractive. somehow better. Maybe I thought this is a generational thing. Maybe it's getting better. So I did some highly non-scientific studies, which primarily involved talking to a few people I knew and thinking about the women I have known. I started with my grandmother. I don't think I ever saw her when she was not dressed up with hair styled and makeup on. She's been gone for a long time now, but I still remember her wanting to add belts to dresses that really didn't need a belt. She wanted to look thin. She would pull the insides out of the bagels or slice them really thin to moderate how much she ate. My grandfather didn't ration food in quite the same way. He was happy to have pickled herring, chocolate cake, not together. Although my father sometimes likes mustard and pickles with weird things. Anyway, she put a lot of effort into her appearance, into trying to conform to the ideals of that day. He did not, or not in the same way. I don't know how much of her sense of self or self-worth was tied up in her appearance, but clearly it mattered to her, and so did being thin, conforming. Next data point was my mother. Sorry, Mom. She was more casual than her own mother, but she is also a petite woman, smaller than me in a lot of ways. I'm not entirely sure she knew what to make of me. I was always heavier and taller than her. She tried to gently suggest I change, prompting my pediatrician to agree that I could stand to lose a few pounds, or steering me towards looser styles of clothing when I wanted to wear that straight miniskirt. I think she was trying to protect me from the judgment of others in a world that still prioritizes appearances. And my mom, who I see as being just the right size, has also been known to mention her own weight and her unhappiness with it. And I mentioned this to her recently, and she didn't even realize she had done it. My source, though, is reliable. It was my daughter. My mom is beautiful, and yet she still falls into this trap of talking about her weight, of negative self-talk. So the next generation is me. I have given up on makeup and styling my hair. For the most part, these things just don't seem worth the time and effort. Sometimes I'm very good at saying my body, my bag of flesh, is just a vehicle for my mind. But then I go to the doctor's office for a routine appointment and they ask me to step on the scale, and I cringe. Medical appointments can be fraught for women. Between the scale and the BMI posters, most can't help but feel judged. Yes, I know my BMI puts me in the overweight or obese category. A colorful sign is not going to motivate me to do something about it. Being overweight comes with judgment and assumptions of poor impulse control or lack of willpower. Studies have shown that overweight women or overweight people are more likely to cancel medical appointments to avoid weight judgment. And when they do seek medical care, their ailments are often dismissed as being solely due to their weight. If you lost some weight, your joints wouldn't hurt so much. Or your shortness of breath is most likely due to your weight. Or the perennial favorite of women, it's all in your head. Maybe there's something else going on. I have 2 adult daughters. When they were small, we taught them it's what's on the inside that counts. Pretty routine stuff, right up there with sharing and say please and thank you. But I think we do them a disservice to say that. Most kids figure out that unfortunately the sentiment is kind of like Santa Claus. It's a nice story we share with children, but something that isn't quite true. We think their insides are important, their ideas and their actions, but the outsides do matter. People judge based on appearance. My older daughter doesn't seem quite ready to give up on this ideal. She thinks a lot of things around appearances are stupid and a waste of time, or at least she says they are. My younger daughter has accepted the reality a little bit more. Sure, clothes have gotten a lot more casual, pajama pants out and about, but appearances still matter. They have more words and phrases to describe these ideas, and I think they're more explicitly aware of what are safe and accepting spaces and what are not, but it's still there, that feeling of not quite having the right body. There's a movement towards body positivity, but even that is pressure. I don't know how to take joy in my muffin top when I can't let go of the voice in my head that is judging me for having one. I buy bigger jeans as a practical matter, but it feels like giving up. Body positivity says just change your mindset, love your body, and unconditionally. Those bad feelings you have about your body, they're bad too, and you shouldn't have them. If you can't get rid of them, it's your own fault. Let's just keep piling on. It's all good. It doesn't work. To quote Dr. Albers, honestly, a random psychologist I found on the internet, but she distilled this concept in a way that really resonated with me. Body positivity wouldn't even be needed if we appreciated and found all bodies to be inherently beautiful. Society is reflective of what our culture and environments teach us to believe, to dislike our bodies for so many reasons. So in working on this piece, I learned a new term. The internet is great. Body neutrality. Don't hate your body. Don't take on the pressure of loving your body. Just have a body and go about your day. To paraphrase Julia Roberts' character in Eat, Pray, Love, eat the pizza, buy the new jeans. I think I can work with that, but my cholesterol. So, living in the body of a woman, part 2. When the standard is male. My first pair of work boots were men's, and they never fit right. I bought them at Building 19. Remember Building 19? Oh, look at that. All of you do. It might have been Building 19 and a half. I'm not sure. I was happy to find one pair of boots in the midst of all those other ones that was small enough for me. Work boots aren't the only things that don't conform to women's bodies, even today. Crash test dummies, healthcare, medical research, these have all used the male body as the standard. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, for example, standardizes crash test dummies by age, weight, and gender. They have percentiles for these things, referring to weight and height of the dummies. This was a partial list of the dummies that were found on their website. 2 50th percentile adult males, 1 5th percentile adult female, a small adult female, several children, and 2 infants. Let's just take a step back here. 5th, I am enunciating, not 50th, 5th. And the weight of the 2 adult female dummies, which are both 4'11". All right, is anybody here 4'11" besides like my mother? All right, well, those 2 weights, 108 pounds and 97 pounds. See part 1. 97 pounds is not a small woman. It is a child. So women are not just an afterthought version of human beings in the eyes of safety. They aren't even modeled accurately. Heart attacks and strokes look different in women than men and are often missed. Many women are used to feeling pain or sick as part of the cycles their bodies already go through, and they learn to just push through, concealing discomfort and grossness of menstruation as well as backaches or nausea. Is it any wonder they hesitate to seek help? 3 weeks ago, the Washington Post had an essay by Gretchen Reynolds about her friend Anne, a healthy, active, 61-year-old woman. And this honestly resonated after Rebecca's experience. One afternoon, Anne rode her bike, climbed off, and complained of nausea and fatigue. Her right arm ached. Blaming indigestion, she took some Tums. They didn't help. She vomited. Her husband suggested urgent care. She declined. The next morning, Anne collapsed in their bathroom and could not be revived. She goes on to describe the symptoms of heart attack in women, which Rebecca shared earlier. Upset stomach and shortness of breath. Why don't we know what heart attacks look like in women? It's not. What is the leading cause of death in women? It's not breast cancer, it's heart disease. And drug trials. Starting in 1977, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration recommended scientists exclude women of childbearing age from early clinical trials due to concerns about potential pregnancy or hormonal fluctuations muddling the results. It wasn't until 1993 that research funded by the National Institutes of Health was required to include women and minorities. And it hasn't been going that well. Women often have more adverse drug reactions and are biologically different from men, but it is simpler and more controllable to exclude them from the research. There's been some progress, but women are still substantially underrepresented. I purchased that first pair of work boots in 1996. I purchased my second pair of work boots in the early 2000s. They were women's featherweights from Sears, back when we had Sears. But they were on sale. Great, because they were being discontinued. Well, I was happy to get a good deal. It meant that I couldn't replace them easily. That was it. I found something tailored to my gender, but it was a one-time deal. When you're not the primary market for something, you take what you can get. You compromise. I had those boots for a very long time. I don't need to wear steel-toed boots every day or even every week, but I had those long enough that I wore all the tread off the bottom of the boots and the dye started coming off on my socks. I didn't want to deal with trying to find new boots. And I'm not the only one. The US Army buys different styles of boots for all kinds of different conditions, different climates, hot, cold, desert, mountain, rain, whatever, but not for male and female. Women's feet tend to be narrower with higher arches. I wear my boots maybe once a month. If that, soldiers can be expected to wear them every day. I purchased my third pair of work boots this year. When I had finally decided to replace my well-worn featherweight boots, I walked into a Red Wing store and found rows of work boots. There were a lot, if I were a man. And the women's boots in my size and every size near my size, they were all out of stock. I wanted to try them on and make sure I bought something that actually fit my feet and was comfortable, but I had to order them online. And even though they are women's boots, they still don't quite fit right. Studies have shown when women are represented in positions of authority, issues that affect women are considered and addressed. For example, when Sheryl Sandberg, author of Lean In, was pregnant with her first child while she worked at Google, she realized some things that didn't work for pregnant women, specifically the long walk from the parking lot. And since she was in a position of power, she could do something about it. She created pregnancy parking at the front of the building. When women tell the story, be it films or history or journalism or biography, they are more likely to quote women and center stories on them. Women don't displace men, they draw the circle wider. Each step towards a more equitable inclusion leads to more inclusive ideas, designs, and products. Representation matters. And we will now sing our final hymn, which is number 1051 in your teal order of service. And I'm going to let the complicated thing be explained by him.
Thank you, Jen. So as Jen said, the next hymn is in the teal hymnal. It's 1051. It's We Are. And it has a complicated map. So I'm just going to lay it out for you so you don't get lost. So if you look on the first page of this, the first couple of lines, notice there's that on the second line, it has the little 1 in the bracket. Well, that's what you sing first when you get there, and then you go up to the top and sing it again and jump to the second bracket. Then you get to the bottom of the page, and you sing that, and you sing the next page, and then you go on to the third page, and notice at the end of the line of the third line there, you've got that little extra 2 dots and the bar. You go back to the bottom of the second page. Are you confused yet? Yes. Okay, well, that's good. You'll figure it out. That's why I'm here doing this. So you sing it all again. What? You go to the bottom of the bottom line of the first page. Yes, the second time through. And you sing it all again, and then you go through the third page, and you go to the fourth page, and now you get to the end, those last 2 lines there. And notice it's got that same thing where it has the little bracket with the numbers. You just sing those last 2 lines 4 times. So, you know, as I like to tell the choir, just sing the tune. Everybody please rise in body or spirit.
you guys are singing at the end, so if you want to just stay and let me do closing words. So, Living in the Body of a Woman, Part 3. The book of Genesis describes God creating Eve from Adam's rib. So, not just an alternate, but a secondary, lesser model. She is made from a piece of him. Crash test dummies have been used in cars since the late 1960s. An average female crash test dummy still does not exist. We learn to recognize the symptoms of catastrophic health events in men, but not women. Medical developments for the treatment of disease that affect women is not based off of research that includes women. Women are not the basis of design. Men are. All these messages devalue women. Is it any wonder we tend to devalue ourselves?